YouTube, it's your girl DeeDee. Welcome and welcome back to the channel. So I want to give my 2 cents on women who say marriage is not the flex. And before I get into this video, I know there are women who just don't want to be married. You know, there are women who, marriage is not for everybody. So I do understand that there are women who don't want to be married. They're happy being single or just dating. I do understand that for the people in the back. But I also will say, I want to add to that because we hear so many women who are older or getting older, hitting 40s and older, who I mostly hear say marriage is not the flex and, marriage is not the goal and, they're so happy by themselves. And that may be true. And if that's your business, that's your business. I'm not talking to you. But there are a lot of women who tend to say that when they've run out of options. Let's be real. You rarely hear younger women who are attractive, who have options. Usually, you rarely hear them say, that they don't ever want to get married and marriage is not the goal. You usually hear them say that they want to be married one day. That you usually hear young, attractive women or just young women in general say they want to be married one day and that they want to have a family and all of these things. But you start to notice as these women get older, they start to say marriage is not the goal and marriage is not the flex and marriage is not for everybody. And I don't understand why women, women say marriage is their goal and they want a family, Once again, I personally think that when you start to get older and you realize you don't have the options that you thought you would have, then it's a defense mechanism to start to say that it's not the goal and you don't really want it. Because you know why? You're preparing yourself for the fact or the idea, I'll say, because it may not be a fact. You may find somebody. But a lot of these women are mentally preparing themselves for the idea that they may never find a husband. They may never have children. They may never have that type of lifestyle. And it's okay. But my thing is this, I hear women, some women, not all women, but some women like to minimize marriage and the importance of it and how other people value it because they don't value it. And a lot of times people don't value what they can't get or what they don't have. So they try to minimize your experience of being married and, having a husband and motherhood and all of that. They try to make it seem like this is the narrative for all married women, that all married women are secretly miserable. All married women are secretly wanting a single life, like what they see on social media, that somehow married women secretly want to be able to be free to do what they want to do, because somehow when you marry, child, you can't do anything that you want to do. You're bogged down. You can't do anything. You can't have any aspirations, any goals or dreams because you're married is insane to me. But I think a lot of women are so accustomed to a single lifestyle, they couldn't fathom the idea of what a stable, healthy marriage looks like. And then I get it because at the same time, I didn't see stable, healthy marriages growing up. People were cheating on each other. People were abusing each other. It was a lot going on. And so there was not a lot of healthy marriages that you could look over and want to emulate. Because everybody was toxic. Everybody had things going on that wasn't necessarily, healthy. And so when you decide or find, something that is stable and you're happy in it, you really don't care what other people think. But I just like to speak on it because I think, there's a narrative that married women are probably just as miserable as everybody else. And single women are so happy and they're so happy to be by themselves. They can just up and go and do what they want to do. They don't have to worry about kids. And I love that for you. For the ones who have that and you're happy with it. I'm all about happiness. I'm all about what makes you happy. But there are a lot of people who are truly not happy. And they're lying and they're faking the funk. And they want you to believe that because it's the opposite. You're not really happy with your life. A lot of these women want companionship. Who doesn't really want somebody to love them and really truly be there for them? I think a lot of women don't know how to accept love. I think people, for whatever reason, don't know how to accept love. Sometimes you kind of push people away because you don't think that you're prepared for it, or you don't know how to treat a person. You don't know how to show love back. So there's, all of these things could be true. But I just don't like how when you hear, and I was on TikTok recently and I was listening to this woman who was talking about her marriage. She had to come on there and set the record straight to let these women know how she values her husband. And she values her marriage, and she values the fact that she is a married woman. But then you have women coming on here saying, well, marriage ain't the flex and this and that. No, it's not a flex to you because you're not married. So I would agree that if you don't understand marriage and you've never experienced it and you haven't had a real stable marriage, you wouldn't value it because you don't know what it means. You don't understand the dynamics of it. If you've only ever been single your whole life, and I mean, if you're not married, you're single. If you've never been married, you don't understand the value of it. So it makes sense. But don't try to downplay other people's experience when they're telling you, hey, they got good husbands. They have good relationships with their husbands. They love their husbands and their husbands love them. And they have a good relationship. Don't try to downplay that just because you've never had that experience. I don't like to downplay people's experiences. I just try to at least respect your experiences versus mine. My experience is something totally different. Like, I've never been in a horrible relationship where somebody abused me and used me and all of these things. But I know that it exists. I know that a lot of women have dealt with that and have been in that. So I can respect your experiences, but I just want people to start, speaking on their experiences and stop generalizing everything, because that's not everybody's experience. Every woman hasn't been in a domestic violence situation. But the way you hear women talk, they talk as if all women have been through that. I've never been through a domestic violence relationship. So I have no idea what that entailed. So it just goes to show you, I'm not going to minimize your experience. If that's what you experience, that's what you experience. But I haven't. So every woman has not experienced that. So, this is why it's kind of dangerous to generalize these types of things, especially when it's a negative, it has a negative aspect to it, because that's not the experience of every woman. And so I just think, a lot of times people hate what they can't have. You hate what you don't have, what you can't have, what you don't think you can have. And you try to make yourself feel better about it because you don't have it. Because I guarantee you, if there are women out here and you're dating a man that you absolutely love, right? You love him. You treat him well. He treats you well. You love him. You can't tell me that if this man turns around and say, he proposed to you and wants you to be his wife, that you wouldn't be ecstatic, that you wouldn't be happy about it. If you had a man that you thought was going to propose to you, you would kindly and happily accept, knowing that this man loves you and you love him and y'all going to build a life together. Most women in their right mind is not going to turn something like that down. The only time you might do that is if you really don't care about the dude and you really don't care about marrying him, you really don't care about nothing about him, then you wouldn't care about marriage. But if you could get the man that you want to be with you and propose to you, oh my God, that's where you find these women crying all over the floor, snot crying, because you're so excited. But a lot of these women act as if it's not that big of a deal because they don't have it. You don't have a man that's going to not only propose to you but marry you and make you his woman and give you his last name and treat you special and love on you and want to build an actual life with you and not just some superficial situationship. Most women don't want that. And if you do, I don't understand why you want to be ran through on purpose, just somebody's play toy that they just play with you and then throw you to the side. I don't think most women want that. I don't think most women. Now, there may be some that do, but most women don't want that. Most women want to be loved and they want to feel love, and you want to experience that. You want to have somebody that you know has got your back and there for you. It's in our nature to want that. Why would you want to be by yourself just playing around with men playing with your feelings and playing around with you your whole life? That doesn't sound like anything honorable to me. So, yeah, I just want us to start, thinking about these things and stop trying to minimize married women's experiences. Everybody's experience is not the same. Just because you might know a couple of women who might be married and they're telling you, girl, they miserable and all that, that's not a nature for every married woman. And stop calling married women pick-me's, because they've already been picked. You want to get picked, and that's not going to help your options. So that's my thoughts. Y'all let me know what y'all think, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.